This book is not about getting more done in less time. This book is about getting only the right things done. Essentialism is not a productivity hack. It is a way of life, a way of thinking, a way of choosing. Greg McKeown begins with a powerful truth. If you don't prioritize your life, someone else will. And most people already know how that feels. Your days are full. Your calendar is packed. Your to-do list never ends. Yet somehow, you still feel behind. Busy, but not fulfilled. Active, but not effective. This is the modern paradox. We are doing more than ever, yet achieving less that truly matters. Essentialism exists to solve this exact problem. What is essentialism? Essentialism is the disciplined pursuit of less. Not less for the sake of laziness. Not less because you don't care, but less so you can give your best to what truly matters. An essentialist asks one critical question. What is the most important thing I can do right now? A non-essentialist asks, how can I do it all? And that one difference changes everything. The non-essentialist life. Greg describes the non-essentialist as someone who says yes too often, feels stretched thin, jumps from one task to another, tries to please everyone, measures success by how busy they are. The non-essentialist believes everything is important, so nothing gets the attention it deserves. They live in reaction mode. Emails control them. Meetings control them. Other people's priorities control them. And slowly, silently, their own dreams get pushed aside. The essentialist life. An essentialist lives very differently. They choose carefully. They say no gracefully. They protect their energy. They focus deeply. They measure success by impact, not activity. An essentialist understands, if it isn't a clear yes, it's a clear no. This mindset is uncomfortable at first, because it requires courage. Courage to disappoint people. Courage to set boundaries. Courage to accept trade-offs. But in return, essentialism gives something priceless. Clarity, control, peace. The lie of you can have it all. One of the biggest lies of modern culture is, you can have it all. Greg McKeown calls this a dangerous illusion, because life always involves trade-offs, whether you choose them consciously or let them be chosen for you. Time spent on one thing is time not spent on another. Energy invested here is energy not available elsewhere. Essentialists don't deny trade-offs. They design them intentionally. Non-essentialists ignore trade-offs and pay the price later in stress, burnout, and regret. The power of choice. Essentialism begins with one foundational belief. You have the power to choose. Many people forget this. They say, I have no choice. I have to do this. I don't have an option. But most of the time, this is not true. You may not control every situation, but you always control how you respond. Essentialism restores your agency. It reminds you, you are not a victim of circumstances. You are the designer of your life. Busy is not the same as important. Greg makes this crystal clear. Busy is not a badge of honor. Busy is often a sign of poor prioritization. Busyness is easy. Focus is hard. Anyone can fill their day. Very few people can protect what truly matters. Essentialists are not lazy. They are selective. They invest their time where it creates the highest return. The way of the essentialist. Essentialism is built on 3 core principles. Explore. Figure out what really matters. Eliminate. Remove everything else. Execute. Make what matters effortless. Part 1 focuses on the mindset shift required to even begin this journey. Before tactics. Before systems. Before tools. You must change how you think. The cost of not being an essentialist. Greg shares that when we fail to choose, we get exhausted. We get distracted. We feel out of control. We live someone else's agenda. And worst of all, we lose the chance to do our best work. Because excellence requires focus. And focus requires elimination. You cannot be excellent at everything, but you can be exceptional at the right things. The courage to say no. At the heart of essentialism is one difficult word. No. Saying no feels uncomfortable. It feels selfish. It feels risky. But Greg reframes it beautifully. Saying no to one thing is saying yes to something else. Every no protects a deeper yes. Your health, your family, your purpose, your craft. Essentialists say no with respect, with honesty, without guilt. They understand that boundaries are not walls. They are bridges to a better life. Success without essentialism is failure. One of the most powerful ideas in part 1 is this. You can be successful and still fail at what truly matters. You can climb the ladder, only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. Essentialism asks you to pause, to step back, to ask, is this the right ladder? Because progress in the wrong direction is not progress at all. Essentialism truly begins the moment you realize one thing. You always have a choice, even when it feels like you don't. Most people live as if their lives are controlled by circumstances, expectations, and pressure. They say, I have to do this. I don't have a choice. This is just how it is. But Greg McKeown challenges this belief directly. Because the moment you forget your power to choose, you give that power away. Choice is the source of freedom. Essentialists believe something deeply. We are not victims of our schedules. We are architects of our lives. Choice is not always easy. Choice is not always comfortable. But choice is always present. Even when options are limited, there is still a choice in how you respond. Non-essentialists give their power away by assuming everything is mandatory. Essentialists reclaim their power by questioning that assumption. When you don't choose, others will. Greg explains a painful truth. If you don't decide your priorities, someone else will decide them for you. Your boss, your clients, your friends, your family, your inbox. And none of them are malicious. They are simply pursuing their priorities. The problem begins when you sacrifice your priorities to serve everyone else's. That is how lives drift off course. Not through one big mistake, but through 1,000 unexamined yeses. The difference between I have to and I choose to. Language shapes reality. Greg asks us to notice how often we say, I have to. This phrase removes responsibility. It turns a decision into a burden. Now replace it with, I choose to. Suddenly the same action feels different because now you own it. Instead of, I have to work late, say, I choose to work late because this project matters to me. Or maybe you realize you don't actually choose it. And that realization alone is powerful. Essentialism is not about restriction. Many people fear essentialism because they think it limits freedom. But Greg explains the opposite is true. Essentialism creates freedom because when you eliminate the trivial many, you create space for the vital few. Freedom does not come from endless options. It comes from clear priorities. Too many options create stress. Too many commitments create exhaustion. Clarity creates peace. The trade-off reality. One of the core ideas in part 2 is trade-offs. Trade-offs are unavoidable. The only question is, will you choose them intentionally or accept them unconsciously? Every yes is a no to something else. Every commitment costs time, energy, and focus. Essentialists face this reality head on. Non-essentialists pretend they can do everything and pay the price later. You can do anything, but not everything. This sentence captures the heart of essentialism. You are capable, you are talented, you are ambitious, but you are still human. Trying to do everything guarantees mediocrity. Choosing a few things creates excellence. Essentialists don't ask, how can I fit this in? They ask, is this worth the cost? The danger of uncommitted living. When you don't consciously choose your direction, you drift, you become reactive. You spend your days putting out fires instead of building something meaningful. Greg calls this default living. Default living is dangerous because it feels normal. But years later, you wake up and wonder, how did I end up here? Essentialism is the antidote. It forces you to pause, to reflect, to decide. Clarity comes before action. Most people want to act first and think later. Essentialists reverse this order. They think deeply first, then act decisively. Clarity saves time. Clarity saves energy. Clarity prevents regret. Instead of asking, what should I do next? Essentialists ask, what truly matters? Because once that is clear, the next step becomes obvious. Decision fatigue and why less is more. Every decision consumes mental energy. The more trivial decisions you make, the less energy you have for important ones. Essentialists simplify their lives on purpose. They reduce unnecessary decisions. They create routines. They eliminate distractions. Not to be rigid, but to preserve mental energy for what actually matters. Less clutter, less noise, less chaos, more focus, more intention, more impact, ownership over your life. Part 2 emphasizes responsibility, not blame, responsibility. Essentialism does not say life is fair. It says life is yours. You may not control everything that happens, but you control how you choose. And those choices compound over time. Small choices repeated daily shape your destiny. The Essentialist question. Greg introduces a powerful habit. Before committing to anything, ask, is this the most important thing I could be doing right now? If the answer is no, have the courage to decline. This question creates a filter that protects your time, a filter that protects your energy, a filter that protects your life. Why saying no is a skill. Saying no is not rejection. It is direction. It requires practice. It requires clarity. It requires confidence. Essentialists understand That saying no respectfully is better than saying yes resentfully. A delayed no becomes frustration. A clear no creates trust. Essentialism now moves into a deeper phase. This is where clarity sharpens. This is where noise fades. This is where you learn to discern. Discernment means learning to tell the difference between what matters and what merely looks important. Most things in life are not equally important, yet most people treat them as if they are. That is the root of overwhelm, the problem of equal priority. Non-essentialists believe everything is important, so they give everything the same level of attention. But when everything is important, nothing is. Essentialists understand a powerful truth. Almost everything is non-essential. Only a few things truly move the needle. Only a few things create real impact. Only a few things deserve your full energy. The 90% rule. Greg introduces a simple but radical filter. Before committing to anything, ask, on a scale from 0 to 100, how important is this to me? If it is not at least 90%, the answer is no. This rule eliminates confusion. It removes gray areas. It forces clarity. Essentialists don't settle for pretty good. They wait for absolutely yes. Why clarity feels uncomfortable. Discernment requires slowing down, and slowing down feels uncomfortable. In a world addicted to speed, silence feels awkward. Thinking feels unproductive. But without space, you cannot see clearly. Essentialists create space on purpose. They pause. They reflect. They think deeply. Because clarity is not found in chaos. The power of play. One surprising insight in part 3 is the importance of play. Greg explains that play is not a waste of time. Play expands the mind. It increases creativity. It improves problem solving. Essentialists allow themselves to play because they understand that rest fuels insight. A mind that never rests loses its sharpness. Space creates wisdom. Most people fill every moment, every silence, every gap. Essentialists protect white space. Space in the calendar, space in the mind, space in life. Because space allows you to notice what truly excites you, what truly drains you, what truly matters. Without space, everything feels urgent. With space, importance becomes visible, listening to the whisper before it becomes a scream. Your body and mind send signals. Fatigue, frustration, loss of motivation. Non-essentialists ignore these signals. They push harder until burnout forces them to stop. Essentialists listen early. They adjust. They eliminate. They simplify. They understand that ignoring the whisper leads to hearing the scream. The trade-off you can't escape. Time is limited. Energy is limited. Focus is limited. That is not pessimism. That is reality. Discernment means accepting limits without guilt or shame. You cannot do everything, and you don't need to. You only need to do what truly matters. Learning to filter noise. The modern world is loud. Notifications, opinions, requests, expectations. Essentialists build filters. They don't react to everything. They choose what deserves attention. Just because something is urgent does not mean it is important. Urgency shouts. Importance whispers. Discernment teaches you to hear the whisper. What makes something essential? Essential things have 3 qualities. They align with your purpose. They create meaningful impact. They energize rather than drain you. Non-essential things may feel productive, but they leave you exhausted. Essentialists pay attention to energy, because energy is a compass. The courage to wait. Non-essentialists rush decisions. They fear missing out. Essentialists wait. They observe. They gather information. They choose deliberately. Waiting is not laziness. Waiting is discipline, because saying yes too fast is often the same as saying yes to the wrong thing. Life is about editing. Greg compares life to editing a book. A great book is not written by adding more words. It is created by removing unnecessary ones. The same is true for life. Quality comes from subtraction. Clarity comes from elimination. Discernment is the art of editing your life. Why most opportunities are disguised distractions. Opportunities sound exciting. They feel flattering. They trigger ego. But not every opportunity is meant for you. Essentialists evaluate opportunities based on alignment, not excitement. They ask, does this move me closer to what matters most? If not, they let it go. The discipline of focus. Focus is not a personality trait. It is a skill, a practice, a discipline. Essentialists train focus by repeatedly choosing the essential and letting go of the rest. Over time, discernment becomes intuitive. What once felt difficult becomes natural. Clarity alone is not enough. Knowing what matters is only half the journey. The real transformation begins when you learn to eliminate, because insight without action changes nothing. Essentialism demands courage here. The courage to let go. Elimination is not a one-time event. Most people think elimination happens once. They declutter a room. They clear a to-do list. They promise to simplify. And then slowly, everything comes back. Essentialists understand something deeper. Elimination is not an event. It is a discipline, a continuous practice of removing what no longer serves. Why we struggle to let go. Letting go feels painful because of emotional attachments. We hold on because we already invested time. We already invested effort. We don't want to disappoint people. We fear regret. Greg calls this the sunk cost fallacy. Just because you invested in something does not mean you must keep investing. Past effort does not justify future sacrifice. The power of a clear no. Essentialists don't eliminate harshly. They eliminate deliberately. They say no with clarity and respect. A vague yes leads to resentment. A clear no creates freedom. When you say no early, you save yourself time, energy, and stress. When you delay no, you multiply the cost. If it isn't a clear yes, it's a no. This principle simplifies decision making. Non-essentialists negotiate with themselves. Maybe later. Let me think. I'll try to fit it in. Essentialists are decisive. If it does not strongly align with what matters most, they let it go. No guilt, no over-explaining, no regret. Boundaries are essential. Elimination requires boundaries. Without boundaries, everything becomes urgent. Everything becomes your responsibility. Essentialists design boundaries intentionally. Boundaries around time. Boundaries around energy. Boundaries around availability. Boundaries are not selfish. They are protective. They protect what matters most. The art of saying no gracefully. Greg emphasizes that saying no does not require aggression. You can say no kindly. You can say no respectfully. You can say no honestly. Examples include, I'm honored you thought of me, but I can't commit to this right now. That sounds meaningful, but it's not aligned with my priorities. No is a complete sentence. You do not owe everyone an explanation. Elimination requires trade-offs. Every eliminated commitment creates space, but it also creates discomfort because you are choosing one thing over another. Essentialists accept trade-offs consciously. Non-essentialists suffer trade-offs unconsciously. Choosing discomfort now prevents regret later. Editing your life like a pro. Greg compares elimination to professional editing. Great editors remove entire chapters to strengthen the story. Essentialists remove entire commitments to strengthen their lives. Not everything deserves a place. Not everything deserves attention. Only what aligns with your highest contribution stays. The social pressure to say yes. Many people overcommit because they fear social judgment. They don't want to appear rude. They don't want to disappoint. They don't want to miss out. Essentialists redefine success. They care more about integrity than approval. They understand people may be disappointed temporarily, but living misaligned creates permanent dissatisfaction. Elimination is a skill you practice daily. Elimination is practiced in small moments. Which emails you respond to, which meetings you attend, which conversations you prolong, which thoughts you entertain. Essentialists remove distractions early, before they become obligations. Small eliminations prevent big overwhelm. The role of courage. Elimination requires courage. Courage to disappoint. Courage to be misunderstood. Courage to choose long-term meaning over short-term comfort. Greg reminds us, if you don't prioritize your life, someone else will. And they will never prioritize it the way you would. What elimination gives you back? When you eliminate properly, you gain time, energy, focus, peace, presence. You stop feeling stretched thin. You stop feeling guilty. You stop feeling reactive. You begin to feel intentional. Eliminate to elevate. Every eliminated distraction elevates what remains. Your best work improves. Your relationships deepen. Your thinking sharpens. Your life becomes quieter, but more powerful. Less noise, more meaning. Knowing what matters is powerful. Eliminating what doesn't is freeing, but none of it matters if execution remains exhausting. This is where essentialism becomes real. This is where clarity turns into results. Execution is not about pushing harder. It is about making progress easier. The myth of willpower. Most people believe success requires willpower. They think, if I just try harder, I'll finally be consistent. But Greg McKeown challenges this idea. Willpower is unreliable. It fades under stress. It disappears under pressure. Essentialists don't rely on willpower. They design systems that make the right behavior, the easiest behavior. Make it easy to do what matters. Essentialists ask a different question. Not how can I force myself to do this, but how can I remove friction? Friction is anything that makes execution harder. Confusion, distractions, poor planning, lack of structure. Remove friction, and progress happens naturally. Design your environment. Your environment shapes your behavior more than motivation ever will. If distractions are everywhere, focus becomes difficult. If clarity is visible, action becomes automatic. Essentialists design their environment intentionally. They remove distractions. They prepare tools in advance. They make the essential visible. When the environment supports you, discipline becomes optional. The power of routine. Routine is not boring. Routine is freeing. Essentialists use routines to protect mental energy. They don't decide everything daily. They automate what doesn't matter so they can focus on what does. Routines reduce decision fatigue. They create consistency. They turn progress into a habit. Small wins create big momentum. Essentialists don't aim for perfection. They aim for progress. Small wins build confidence. Small wins create momentum. Small wins compound over time. Instead of asking, how do I finish everything? They ask, what is the smallest meaningful step I can take right now? Execution becomes light, not overwhelming. Prepare for obstacles in advance. Most people wait for problems to appear. Essentialists anticipate them. They ask, what could go wrong? What might slow me down? Then they prepare solutions in advance. This removes surprise. This removes panic. Preparation turns obstacles into manageable events. The importance of buffer time. Essentialists respect reality. They know things take longer than expected. They know life is unpredictable. So they build buffer time into schedules, space between commitments, margin for error, room to breathe. Buffer time prevents stress. It protects quality. Rest is not a reward. Rest is not something you earn after exhaustion. Rest is a requirement for excellence. Essentialists schedule rest intentionally. Sleep, breaks, recovery, because a rested mind executes better decisions. Burnout is not dedication. Burnout is mismanagement. Progress over perfection. Perfection delays execution. Fear delays action. Essentialists value progress. They move forward imperfectly. They adjust as they go. They understand finished is better than flawless. Momentum matters more than polish. The Essentialist execution loop. The Essentialist cycle is simple. Decide what matters. Remove everything else. Design systems that support execution. Repeat. This loop compounds over time. Life becomes simpler. Results become stronger. Stress becomes lighter. Consistency beats intensity. Non-essentialists rely on bursts of effort. Essentialists rely on consistency. Small actions done daily outperform massive effort done occasionally. Consistency builds trust with yourself and others. Consistency creates identity. Living as an essentialist. Essentialism is not a one-time project. It is a lifelong practice. Every day brings new choices, new distractions, new demands. Essentialists return to the question, what is essential right now? And they act accordingly. The true reward of essentialism. Essentialism does not promise an easy life. It promises a meaningful one. Less chaos, less regret, less overwhelm, more focus, more presence, more fulfillment. Final core message of the book. You don't need to do more. You need to do less, but better. You don't need more discipline. You need better design. When execution becomes effortless, excellence becomes inevitable. Final closing lines, powerful ending. If you don't choose your priorities, someone else will. If you don't eliminate distractions, they will eliminate your potential. But when you choose what truly matters, when you protect it, when you execute it with intention, your life becomes lighter, your work becomes stronger, and your impact becomes undeniable. That is Essentialism. Full book, summary finished.